That Man and His Manga.
Hello and welcome to That Man. This is a Switch related thing. I am a huge fan of the Nintendo Switch and I thought it might be quite interesting to go over all of the titles that I've collected. Now this is my physical collection, not my digital stuff, so this is all of the stuff that I've bought physically. So we'll be missing out some titles such as Animal Crossing, which I believe works better as a digital title just because I hate that whole faff of opening up a game, putting it in, taking it out, putting it in, taking it out, especially with titles like Animal Crossing where you might play for about 10-15 minutes a day. So let's have a look and see what I've got. I've tried to group them into bundles. First up we have Dragon Quest Builders and Dragon Quest Builders 2. This is an absolutely huge fun title. I absolutely love it. In fact, it kind of works as one big picture slightly, doesn't it? This is more of an RPG version of Minecraft, a little bit more stuff to do. Well, it's kind of hit and miss. Minecraft, I feel like, has a lot more in terms of you can just sit down and play it. I've hit up about 200 hours of the Minecraft version on the Nintendo Switch. Dragon Quest Builders and Dragon Quest Builders 2 gives you more of a storyline, a little bit more focus on what you need to do in order to survive, and I love both of them. Both of them are absolutely fantastic. Really excited. I really hope that Dragon Quest Builders 3 comes out. If not, I will probably go back to Dragon Quest Builders 2 and start building stuff. I will remake the entire world of Legend of Zelda, potentially. Speaking of Legend of Zelda, we have Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. I have, again, this is another one, I sank about 100 hours into it. I love a lot of the Warriors series in general. This is not going to be the last time we see the Warriors series. But yeah, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, it just has everything from the original Hyrule Warriors and the 3DS game all put together in one glorious whole. Really fun, really addicting. Again, another one I've stuck up tons and tons of hours. Next up is a title that I didn't really get much of the first one. I didn't play much of Splatoon itself, but Splatoon 2, I really got into this one. I absolutely love this, and it's a shame that they kind of, I know they do little things here and there where they kind of update it, but it's yeah, I just love everything about this one. It's a nice fun little title. Not so much if you want to play with your friends though. It's obviously online, and I never really got into that whole online thing of playing with random people, and I don't know, I just never ever got into it. Maybe because most of my favourite games are like JRPGs and one-player games, so yeah. Next up is ARMS, another one that, this is one like, for example, titles such as Pilot Wings for the 3DS and Lego City for the Wii U. It's one of those very early games where I kind of felt, I was like, you got it because it was an early game and there wasn't a huge amount else. ARMS is fine. I don't dislike the inclusion of Min Min as a Smash character. I just never really got into it. It was one of those ones where I just kind of played it and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Wasn't hugely into it, but I'm not a huge fighting game fan, to be perfectly honest. Next up is Moonlighter, a title in which you run your own shop and you got to go into a dungeon and collect stuff for the shop in order to sell. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it when I first started playing it. However, I got quite fatigued with it quite quickly, and the only reason being is because it's fine. It's just kind of, I got to a point where I was like, I had like the third version of the shop and I think I was still in the first dungeon, so I was just like, there wasn't a huge reason for me to keep continuing. It kind of just felt a bit grindy and I wasn't really that fussed about what I was doing. But yeah, I mean, it is a fine game. I'm sure it has been updated since I played it to make it a little bit more content for it. Next up is a title I paid about £5 for this, and this is Lumo. This is a title that reminds me of, I believe it was called Monster Max for the Game Boy, and also Sylvester and Tweety for the Game Boy Color. It's an isometric dungeon kind of puzzle game where you essentially you have one life and you've got this whole isometric board and these different rooms to go into, and you've kind of got to sort things out and puzzles, and everything works against you. It's a fun little game. Like I said, for £5 you can't really complain about it. No, you really can't. But it's not going to be one for everyone. It's just, like I said, it was just a cheap little title when I was kind of just buying Switch games to have for a collection. And I really did get to a point. I think I bought Lumo, Moonlighter, and I think another title. I think I got them for next to nothing. So I was just like, yeah, I don't mind paying a little bit more just to try out games sometimes. Next up is Yoshi's Crafted World, a title that seemed to be coming out for absolutely ages, and yeah, it was hyped and hyped and hyped up, and I got it, and you know what? I really didn't care much for it. It wasn't bad. It just kind of felt I really like Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo, and I really liked it when they remade it for the Game Boy Advance. Yoshi's Story is one of those ones where I have a lot of nostalgia for, but Yoshi's Crafted World and Yoshi's Woolly World, I like them enough, but I don't know, I feel like the magic has kind of gone from the series for me. I don't know why. This one, more so compared to Woolly World, I don't know, I just wasn't fussed about it. I played it for a few hours and then I just never went back to it, and I don't think I ever will. Maybe someday I will. Nobody talks about this one. Even when it came out, I don't feel like anybody talked about it. Next up is Fire Emblem Warriors, another Warriors title that I did absolutely everything on. Now, I did have some issues where they kind of just did the original Shadow Dragon, then they did Awakening, and then they did Fire Emblem Fates, and that was kind of it in terms of content, but I did enjoy it, and there's nothing more satisfying as playing as Camilla and just backflipping across the entire map and just massacring everything. If you were stuck on the game, play as Camilla, just press X and fly around and just backflip, and that just murders absolutely everything. Next up is 2064 Read Only Memories. I have no idea much about this. The only reason I picked this one up is because it was a limited run title, and apparently it's a crossover with another title that is coming up on my list, and that other title is actually one of my favourite games of all time. So yeah, I don't know much about it. I have actually I put it into ready to start, so this is actually the plan for the next game for me to sit down and finish after I finish playing Tomb Raider. But yeah, 2064, I'm interested in it. Apparently it's a point and click title, so yeah, very interested to see how that one works out. And the other title that I got with it was VA11HALLA, otherwise known as Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. I love this title so much, and I'm really excited for the sequel. This is essentially what it says on the thing, bartender action. It's kind of like a visual novel, a lot of anime stuff, cyberpunk as well. This is the cyberpunk game that I am actually excited. I love this game. I don't care about that other cyberpunk game that's coming out soon, but the sequel to this one, this is the cyberpunk game that I'm really excited for. Not that there's anything I got anything against the other cyberpunk game for the PlayStation. I don't know, I just don't have any hype for it, but this one, I love it so much. If you want a cyberpunk game, if you want a visual novel style game, but want a bartender, this is the title for you. Fantastic game, and an amazing soundtrack as well. Next up is another one from in which this was a Kickstarter backer, and that is The Wonderful 101 for the Nintendo Switch. I love this game. I loved it so much on the Wii U. I've not had a chance to play it yet on the Nintendo Switch because it just came out, and obviously I think I was halfway through a certain other title which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, this one I'm looking forward to getting back into because I really loved it on the Wii U, and it was criminally underrated, so I was really happy to have the chance to pick this one up again. Which reminds us, I do need to pick up Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. Spoiler alert, they're not in this video. Somehow I missed out on that one. Next up is Project High Rise Architects Edition. Again, this was another one, much like Lumo and Moonlighter, I picked up for next to nothing. I loved Sim Tower back in the day. I absolutely love a lot of those old classic strategy real-time games like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Age of Empires, Civ, and titles such as that. And yeah, I felt I needed to pick this one up. It is actually quite a good title. I really enjoyed what I played of it. Not played a huge amount, but I enjoyed what I did play. Next up is Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. I never played Tales of Vesperia, and people see it as the best Tales of game. My favourite Tales of game is the first one I played, Tales of Symphonia. I did like Tales of Grace's F as well, but I played this one and I just couldn't get into it. I was really bored when I was playing it. I think I got lost very early on in one of the early castles, and I was just playing it. I was like, I have absolutely no motivation to go back and touch this game. Maybe someday I will, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Is it worth it? Is it worth me playing it? I don't know. I don't know what it is. The Tales of games, I loved them. I loved them a lot. But as the years went on, I kind of got less and less interested. And Tales of Zestria and I think Tales of Eternia and Tales of Eternia 2, I believe it is, for the PS3, I just didn't like. I really just did not enjoy them a lot. Next up is Overcooked 2. If you want a party game, I would really suggest Overcooked 2. A lot of people will scream and shout at each other as you try and cook foods. It is ridiculously fun, and yes, I would 100% recommend it. There's not much more to say about Overcooked 2. It's just one of those fun games. Next up is Mario Tennis Aces. Oh my god. So I got Mario Tennis Aces on launch because I actually do like the Mario Tennis games. They're fun pick up and play titles. Didn't enjoy this one. I don't know why. I just really didn't enjoy it. It's so much like the Wii U one. I didn't enjoy that one whatsoever. But I don't have Mario Aces once. I have it twice. Sealed. I'm probably the only person with a sealed copy of Mario Tennis Aces because somehow it got sent to me twice and I just never... I asked the company, well, do you want us to send it back? And they never got back to us, so I just kept it. I'm going to get a message all of a sudden, just, you know that Mario Tennis Aces, could you send it back, please? Next up is Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which has a weird sticker on the front. This was a one that I left for quite some time, but it's always super cheap, and quite frankly, it's probably one of my favourite titles that Ubisoft have put out in a long time. Don't care about the Rabbids, but it is a really good strategy game and was a nice stopgap until we finally got Fire Emblem on the Nintendo Switch. Really underrated title. I would recommend this one if you want a decent turn-based strategy title. It is one that, yeah, it's worth looking into. Speaking of turn-based strategy, Civilization 6. Oh my god, I've played so much of this one. It's been a long time. I have not played Civ in a long time, and you know what? I was genuinely surprised to see this come out on the Nintendo Switch, and I was really happy that I did because a lot of people said it was terrible, and I was really thinking it was going to be, it's going to be really, really bad, and yeah, I really actually like it. It's not going to be the best port of the world. Obviously, it's a PC game with a high-running PC. You're going to have a lot better time. But if you want Civ on a handheld device, I would actually recommend looking into this one because it is a lot better than you expect it to be. The only thing is that it really heats up this console in handheld mode. Eventually, especially when you get later on, it is very difficult to play it later on. I think that's the biggest problem when there's a lot of stuff on the map. But yeah, it's a decent version of Civ and makes me want to see more titles like this. Atari release Roller Coaster Tycoon onto the Switch. The proper one, not that one that you actually did release and was absolutely rubbish. Release the proper Roller Coaster Tycoon. Next up, and the last one for this stack, is Knights of Azure 2, Bride of the New Moon. Honestly, I've had this one for quite some time, and I'm not going to lie, I have absolutely no knowledge of what this is even about. Not a clue. You can marry waifu That's about it. I got it as a gift, so yeah. Next up is my favourite, and this is my favourite title, not only on the Switch, but on the 3DS. Actually, the 3DS one was alright, but also my favourite title on the Wii. That's right. Xenoblade Chronicles, the Definitive Edition. This is, honestly, this title is so good. I love this game so much, and it's easily my favourite game that has came out in the last 10 years. Amazing. Absolutely fantastic title. I will someday do a whole video on why I love this title, but yeah, honestly, I love it so much. And because I got that, I also had to get Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which was... I like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's not as good as the Xenoblade Chronicles, but it is still perfectly fine. I actually got the collector's edition, which came with a really nice steelbook of the game. I really wish in hindsight I bought the collector's edition for Xenoblade Chronicles, but for this generation and moving forward, I did swear off buying collector's editions just because they're getting more and more expensive, and I'm finding you get less and less content in them, which is a huge shame. For example, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think it was about 80 pounds, and it didn't even come with the Torn Golden Country edition, which I'm not going to lie, I did not mind paying for another physical version of this. A fantastic DLC addition to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Actually, I think a lot of people rate this one higher than Xenoblade Chronicles 2 itself, but yeah, that franchise I just love so much. Next up is more Warriors games, and that is One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 Deluxe Edition and One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, which released earlier this year. And I'm not gonna lie, despite having a lot of new stuff, including Wano and some more characters, I actually prefer Pirate Warriors 3. And the reason being, I don't know what it was. Pirate Warriors 4 felt it was 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. There's no reason to play this unless your favourite character is Katakuri, Kaido, or Supernova. But I just felt that this one had a lot more content. I finished this one in 30 hours and I never went back to it. I never had any inclination of going back to it, to be honest. It's Pirate Warriors. If you want One Piece, I would recommend Pirate Warriors 3 unless you really want some of the more recent Wano characters. I feel like Pirate Warriors 3 is a little bit better representation of what the series actually is. Speaking of One Piece, I have another one which I've not played on the Switch. I actually played it on the 3DS and the Wii U, and this was another one that I kind of just bought because it was One Piece, and that is Unlimited World Red Deluxe Edition. This is more based on the Unlimited Cruise games, which I'm not going to lie, I feel are quite underrated. But yeah, if you like One Piece, I would really recommend checking this out. The reason I actually got this is because this title on the 3DS and the Wii U and all of the previous ones tend to get very rare very quickly, and I was just like, you know what, if I ever fancy playing it again, I want to have it on physical. Next up is a game by a creator of one of my favourite franchises of all time. A franchise that has long been dormant, but is actually getting a spiritual successor. But this is by the same creator, and that is Alliance Alive Awakening Edition. This was originally a 3DS game, and you know what? I played a few hours of it and didn't care much for it. My favourite JRPG of all time is probably Suikoden, with Xenoblade being a close second. But Alliance Alive, yeah, and I just couldn't get into this. I just wasn't interested in any of the characters or anything that was happening, to be perfectly honest. It might get good later on, but the first few hours did not impress me whatsoever. Next up is another title that I got on launch, and this again, launch is weird because you buy all of these games that you probably wouldn't buy otherwise, and in this case it was Super Bomberman R. Yeah, so the reason I got this is I traded in a lot of my old Wii U collection, and I pretty much got the Switch, Zelda, Bomberman R, and the special, a classic controller. I think I paid about £20 for the lot. Yeah, so I did have I nearly had an entire Wii U collection, to be honest. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'm not really interested. A lot of the games are starting to come out. I think we already had announced that some games were going to get re-released, but yeah, Bomberman R, I'm not going to lie, I played a lot of this on launch, but I never really went back to it. But again, if you want a fantastic title that for multiplayer, much like Overcooked, I would really recommend this one. Next up is The Little Dragon's Cafe, and yeah, this is one that again I bought rather cheap, and I've not really played much of it. It felt quite sluggish and glitchy. I love like the Harvest Moon's titles, such as like Harvest Moon's Story of Seasons, and especially Stardew Valley. I got a lot of time out of Stardew Valley on the Nintendo Switch. This one is very similar, but once I find the Harvest Moon games go into 3D, especially like when it's fully 3D, like when they did it for like the Wii and onwards, I felt it got really slow and really boring. I don't know, I lost a lot of the fun, and this kind of feels very similar, where it just feels incredibly sluggish. I am interested in picking up Rune Factory 5 when it comes out, because I hope that I really want another game like that Harvest Moon. But yeah, for now Stardew Valley is doing more enough. Next up is Super Smash Bros, and I don't really need to explain to this. This is the one that everybody knows. I like playing as Shulk, and I like playing as Samus, you know, the bounty hunter. The thick bounty hunter who hasn't got a game yet on the Nintendo Switch. In fact, I do want to have a new Metroidvania to keep me going until Metroid Prime 4. So if any of you guys have an idea of a good Metroidvania on the Switch, let me know in the comments. Next up is Luigi's Mansion 3. Again, a return to form. I didn't like Luigi's Mansion 2 very much, but I liked Luigi's Mansion 3 quite a lot. And yeah, that's about it. The only thing I didn't like was that that really terrible boss fight where you're in the basement. That nearly ruined the game for me. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 was really good. This one, what's it called? Kotodama, The Seven Mysteries of Fujisawa. It's a puzzle game, I believe. It looks quite etchy. This was £2. I was like, I'm not ignoring a Nintendo Switch physical game for £2. Someday I will make a channel where I covered loads of games, and this will be one of the games I cover until it gets demonetized. There's a lot of dodgy stuff looking on the back of there. But yeah, it was £2, so I can't not buy that. Next up is Pokemon's. I got the sword version. Again, this is another one I quite enjoyed it. I wasn't one of those national dex people. I just play Pokemon. I don't get into Pokemon for the whole I need to catch everything, and I've never ever caught anything all of the Pokemon in any game except for my original red copy, just because I just don't have the time. I did get quite far in this one. I think I only had about 20 or 30, but then all of the ones I had to catch were all stupid like ones where you had to trade evolve them, or you had to evolve them after walking 5 billion steps or some ridiculous thing, and I was just like, I can't be bothered with that. So I just put it back. I might get the DLC for it sometime, but I'm not 100% sure. Next up is Diablo, the Eternal Collection. Yeah, again, this is another one. I actually call my character Darkness. I really wanted to get into Diablo. I've never played it. I played it maybe for the PC, Diablo 2? Might be Diablo 1, like early 2000s? Maybe. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but then I never played it, and I was just like, I want to get into Diablo because a lot of people really rate it, and then I played it, and I played it for a few hours, and I enjoyed it. I just never went back to it. Next up is River City Girls, another one that people really, really hyped up, and I liked it. I wasn't as into it as people I was expecting to be. I was really expecting to be really, really enjoying this, but to be honest, I was fine with it. It was not a bad game. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is a game I own, I suppose. I need to go back to it sometime. The thing is, I never really grew up on those side-scrolling beat-em-up games, so maybe that's why I'm just kind of just like, I was a bit more lukewarm on this one, but I enjoyed what I did play on it. Next up is Astral Chain. I got this for Christmas, and I'm not going to lie, I've not even touched it. I've opened it and I've installed it onto the console, but I've not played it yet. I remember seeing it straight away, and I was just like, oh yeah, it's Xenoblade Chronicles X or something like that, and then I was just like, oh, it's another one. Platinum games, I love Platinum games, but yeah, again, this one I've just not touched, to be perfectly honest. Next up is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Not gonna lie, I really, really loved Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem used to be one of my favourite titles of all time. The first one was Fire Emblem 7 for the Game Boy Advance, and I really liked that, Sacred Stones. The GameCube one was okay, the Wii one wasn't very good, and when they remade Shadow Dragon, I didn't care for it. Awakening, I absolutely loved. I enjoyed Conquest, but not so much Birthright. And Three Houses, I got so far into it. I got so far into the Raid one, and I just stopped playing it. And I'm not going to lie, I have zero intention of ever going back to it. I don't know what it is. I just didn't care about most of the characters. To be fair, I didn't even get to the time skip. I actually got to a certain point with this character, and something happened, and I was really, really annoyed. And I got to the point I was just like, I put it down, and I just never went back to it. And maybe someday I will, but I don't know. I just didn't like this one nearly as much as the other ones. I think the problem was is I spent far too much time just running around the castle rather than actually playing the tactical stuff. And like I said, I just didn't have any attachment to many of the characters except for Bernadette. Bernadette is the best character of all time in Fire Emblem. But yeah, overall I was okay with the series, but yeah, it's not really one I would really particularly say it was I loved. Maybe I'll go back to it sometime. Maybe I won't. Next up is Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore, and I just finished this one, and this is easily my favourite Persona game. Yeah, I know it's Shin Megami Tensei game, but I don't know, it feels more Persona-y. I like this one. I get a lot of hate, but I actually like this game. I enjoyed it when I played it on the Wii U years ago, and I enjoyed it again when I played it again. I don't know, the combat is just so simple, and it's just really effective. I like that kind of thing where it was a fun combat. Something that a lot of JRPGs need to kind of go back to, I feel. This and Xenoblade, I feel, have got some of the best combat in JRPGs in recent history off the top of my head. Also, Trails of Cold Steel. Trails of Cold Steel is easily my favourite title that I've been playing in a long time. Next up is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, a game I love. The Link's Awakening. Honestly, it's one of my favourite games of all time. This one I still enjoy, but not quite as much. I don't know. Maybe it's because I paid £40 for it, and it's a HD remake of an original game. You know, I mean, it's got a lot of new, cool, remastered stuff, and yeah, it's still a fantastic game. I don't know. Maybe it's because when I was, obviously this was the first Zelda game, so, but yeah, it's still good, but I just felt there was something a little bit missing from it. Something, I don't know. Next up is Valkyria Chronicles 4, a game I went absolutely mad for and didn't even play it. Valkyria Chronicles, the original one, is one of my favourite games of all time. I even rebought it on the Nintendo Switch. Also, Limited Run Games, if you are listening, released the original one as a cartridge. I would happily rebuy it for like the 4th time. And it is still my favourite PlayStation 3 and probably one of my favourite PS4 games, the Valkyria Chronicles. But I never played this one. I got really excited. I even bought the collector's edition and just never ever touched it. Someday I will. I just forget I got it, to be honest. Next up is Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of the Elusive Age Definitive Edition S. I played Dragon Quest 11 on the PlayStation 4 about 2 years ago maybe, and I got this one as a gift for Christmas. I love this game. I really, really like it. I just never really kind of went back to it. It's 100 hours, so I was just kind of like, there's other games I want to play, and just then never got back to it. So again, Dragon Quest and Valkyria Chronicles 4, I feel like are 2 titles I really need to play. Next up is a game I've been playing on and off, and that is Ring Fit Adventure. I like it's enough. I've not played enough to kind of say it's a keep fit one, and because we're all locked down, we've all got to sit in our houses. It's a decent one to kind of sit down and play. Well, stand up and play. You can't sit down and play, but yeah, it's a keep fit game. I kind of wish that this was a digital version and you could just buy the ring stuff separate, because once I take this out and put this on a shelf, I'm probably never going to get back to it. Yeah. So these are just some steelbooks that I got with Smash Brothers and Pokemon Sword. Not really much to talk about. Final batch of games here, and first up we have Disgaea 1 complete and Disgaea 5 complete. I love the Disgaea games, but the only one I've ever finished is the 3DS or DS version of Disgaea 1. I think I bought every Disgaea release from when it came out originally on the PS2 up until current day. But yeah, I've played a lot of 5 complete. I've not touched 1 complete. I kind of want to go back through it because I did enjoy it. I don't know. Again, this is another one I kind of feel I need to go back to it, but once it gets to being a bit too grindy, I just lose interest. I don't know why. Next up is Super Mario Odyssey. Again, a fantastic game, one of the first really good games on the Nintendo Switch. And yeah, I really want them to do some DLC for this, because I really want to go back to it. I was going to get 100%, but the jump rope minigame just ruined it. I just couldn't do it, and no matter what I was doing, I just couldn't get any further than like so far on the jump rope game. So yeah, I kind of shelved it and started playing Xenoblade, I think. Another game I would absolutely love to see some DLC for is Mario Kart Deluxe 8. Another one, I got this quite cheap. I think I paid £30 for it, so I was just like, oh yeah, I'm fine with getting it. And I didn't play much of it, to be honest. I played the Wii U version a lot, but this is a fantastic game. I just don't play much of it. I think the problem was that everything was unlocked, so I felt no really indication to actually go down and sit and play it. But that might just be me. Yeah. But yeah, it's Mario Kart. What's more to say about it, to be honest? Next up is Shining Resonance Refrain, another game much like Valkyria Chronicles and Dragon Quest I need to sit down and play. I played the first hour or two and I enjoyed what I played. I just never went back to it. This is another one where it was starting to go out of print and get quite rare, and a lot of people recommended it, so I thought I would pick it up. Next up is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. It's another Pokemon game. This one is more Pokemon Go themed. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't dislike this. A lot of people really dislike the Pokemon Let's Go games, but yeah, I was pretty fine with it. In fact, I think I played more of this than I did play Pokemon Sword. Next up is probably the worst game I've actually got on my collection, and that is Touhou Kabuto Burst Battle 5. So Touhou is a series that a lot of people have told me that I need to get into, and I'm not going to lie, I played this and this was pretty garbage, to be honest. I really like shmups, but this one, I don't know, I paid £5 for it, and that should have been an eye-opener really, and it's just like, yeah, probably the worst game I've got, but yeah. Next up is the almighty The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Love this game. This game ruined Horizon Zero Dawn for me, which came out the same week. I played this so much. I want to go back to it. I really want to sit there and go back to it, because it is a game that I would absolutely love playing so much. Yeah. Next up is a game that I feel is really underrated. I don't hear anybody talking about it, and I think I even did a video on it a long time ago, and that is Sushi Striker, The Way of Sushido. This is a fun little puzzle battle game which has you combine sushi and fighting each other, and I like eating sushi. That was my only thing. I was like, yeah, it looks fun. It is a really fun game. No one talks about it, but I do really enjoy this game. It's just fun and quite unique. Next up is Dead Cells, another one which is a roguelike game. This is a bit more like Metroidvania. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not very good at games, so a lot of games that require precision and stuff like that, I'm not very good with, but I did enjoy Dead Cells quite a bit. I got about halfway through it and then I just never touched it again. It was one of those ones where once you start repeating stuff and it's kind of like, yeah, get to a certain point where I just kind of lose interest in them type of ones. Next up is a game that I have not touched, and that is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. So, my Monster Hunter history is that I played Monster Hunter 3 on the Wii, Monster Hunter 3 on the Wii U, and then the one I played a lot of was Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS. I played a huge amount of that. And then again, I kind of got to the same point and I kind of got a little bit bored, and I started playing Generations. And I got so far in Generations, and I think I got to like through the tutorial and I was just like, I'm bored of this. I'm really bored. I don't like to pay for online services on games, so I didn't actually bother picking up Monster Hunter World on the PlayStation, but I did pick up this one in order to play it, so someday I will potentially play it. Next up is Octopus Traveler, another JRPG that brings us back to the good old days of JRPGs, and I finished this last year, and you know what? I forget that I even played it. It's not bad, I just didn't think it was anything particular fantastic. But that might just be me. I really wanted to enjoy it more than I did, and I kind of got to the end where it was just like, oh yeah, the game's over, but there's actually still a huge amount of stuff to do. But all of the main story is now in a level 99 dungeon. I was just like, nope, I'm not doing that. I was level 60. I'm not grinding to level 100 just to finish off the main story. That's just silly. I didn't really enjoy it, even though I grew up on JRPGs. I just felt that this was quite lacking. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't bad. I just wasn't amazed by it. So one of the last ones we have here is Dusk Diver. Another one. I got this for Christmas, and this is one of those games that you play because you're like someone got you it and you kind of enjoyed it. It's not bad. It's just kind of forgettable. It's just one of those hack and slash games, and in an anime kind of setting, which, yeah. There's the soundtrack to River City Girls. And we also have Our World Is Ended, another title that I play. I haven't even opened this one. Again, I got it quite cheap. I think it was about for £10, and I think I got it cheap, and I just never went to it. It's a visual novel apparently, so I was just kind of, yeah, I'll get to it someday, and just never got back to it. So finally, after what seems like forever doing this video, we have Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, Day 1 Edition. This was the first time I actually really sat down and played a Shantae game, and honestly, I love this one. I want to get back into it, and I don't really know where to go. And my biggest problem is that all of the other Shantae games now are all of them physically are by limited run, and limited run, if you live in the UK, is ridiculously expensive. They've got the Grandia one, and I think it's like $60 before shipping, and I was just like, yeah, that's that's going to be best part of £100 by the time you put in shipping and stuff like that. I can't justify that for a game which is like £20 on the eShop. But yeah, Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, I really like this game. I like this a lot. If you've played Shantae, let me know what the best one is to go on to from this, because I really do want to try and play Shantae again. I just don't know where to go for, because there's that many, and they're not like Shantae 1, Shantae 2. It's like Fate Zero, only with a dancing genie. But that is it from my collection. What have you got in your Nintendo Switch collection? Is there any huge titles that you think I should try and pick up, but I just don't have it? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thank you for coming, and thanks again for staying. Goodbye.